cream include their iconic original glazed donut, the chocolate iced with sprinkles donut, and the chocolate iced cream filled donut. An announcement earlier this year asserted that the donuts will come to Pittsburgh as part of a phased market rollout across the country, with availability to become nationwide at participating McDonald's expected by the end of 2026.
Here's the Beaver County forecast.
Mostly sunny today. We'll see highs near 62. Clear tonight will drop down to a low around 39. Sunny and breezy tomorrow. Look for a high near 61 and an overnight low of 35. More sunshine on Saturday. We'll reach a high of 57 and a low of 42. And Sunday, look for showers through a good portion of the day and evening. We'll see a high near 61 and a low of about 50. I'm Lisa Marie with your Beaver County weather.
On this Thursday, November 7th of 2024 at 9 minutes after 9, we've got a temperature of 55 degrees currently in Beaver County. That's a look at the news for now. I am Noah Haswell on 99.3 FM and AM 1230 WBVP, also streaming live around the world at beavercountyradio.com.
Teleforum is on the air on Beaver County Radio, 99.3 FM and 1230 WBVP. The show is presented by East Rochester and Tuska Shop and Saves. And now, here is the host of the show, Eddie Crow.
No matter what you think about the week, if it's been a good week or a bad week, you can always find some positive. And I got one today, boys. It is Teleforum. It is Thursday, but it's my Friday, so I'm going to be confused about that all day. The beauty of me being confused, one, you're used to it. Two, I can dump off my confusion on Jack Manning. As the commissioners, Jack is here with me. This is being live, Facebook streamed and YouTubed and all of that stuff. And you've been around long enough where you know stuff that I don't know, so I'm just going to pepper you with questions today. Is that all right?
Sure. You could ask me anything. You may not like what I have to hear to say, but if you ask me something, I'm going to give you my opinion or what I know, for sure.
It's not about whether or not I like it.
Oh, okay.
It's about taking advantage of the expertise.
Oh, okay.
You've been around politics a little bit. You've been around this planet a little bit. Mm-hmm. Has there ever been a more exhausting political stretch, campaign, what do they call it, cycle, than what we went through as a country?
Not in my lifetime.
No.
And I'm 72, as you know, Eddie. So,
dude, you're the best preserved 72 I've ever
I've been
seen.
around a few elections. The intensity, the length, the intensity, mm-hmm. the spending. It just
we set records.
I'm just so glad I'm not getting spam text messages.
Oh, no doubt.
And phone calls. That's all over. It was a pretty ridiculous cycle. And the bad part is the beginning next year, the campaign for 28 will start. People trying to get out front. I mean, Donald Trump's been running the last 4 years,
sure.
right? for this one. I mean, everybody's lining up now like, okay, we know.
Is that part of what has been happening in this country? A successful politician isn't necessarily a successful governor, but rather a really good campaigner.
Well, I would say that this isn't. Don't take this out of context. But I've made this statement a lot, and when I ran myself, it's very easy to run a grievance campaign. You mm-hmm. don't like who's in office. You don't like what's happening. Those kind. But grievance doesn't govern well. Unless you have policies and ideas and solutions and problem solving, you can bitch and complain all you want about stuff. Excuse my language.
Do you have to govern well?
But unless you have ideas and the ability to work across the aisle,
or
be
desire.
Satisfied with 80% of a loaf instead of holding out for the whole 100% of a loaf. I mean, that's how you get things done. That's what we do at the county level. I'm proud of how my colleagues and I work. We don't always have the same perspective on things. We don't always have the same approach to things. But 95% of the time, it comes together and we come up with what I think is the best solution, because all three of us, with all three of our perspectives, experiences, philosophical approaches, come together to make things happen. And I'm proud of how we do that. That's how it works at the local level. That's how it works at the county level. And I think for the most part, that's what they try and make happen in Harrisburg. D.C. is a different animal right now, and I don't know if it'll get better or worse in the next 4 years. But it hasn't been very productive these last 4 years.
You have told me on more than one occasion it's about local. The politicians here can have much more of a direct effect on your life than Harrisburg,
Absolutely.
certainly Washington.
Yeah, absolutely.
What effect will local politics have to deal with because of the national election? What's going to change?
Well, I don't know. I'm hoping that some of the, and again, you've heard me talk about this, the trust deficit that exists.
That's such a polite way of
Right.
phrasing it.
No, well, I mean, it's true. And it's something that I learned from my mentor, John Huntsman Jr., who was my role model for politics. I think you've heard me talk about him before.
Mm-hmm.
Former two-term governor of Utah. I worked for the Huntsman family for 10 years. His family's
This is
chemical business, but he was always in politics. But he's the guy that was ambassador for China under the Obama administration and ambassador of Russia under the Trump administration.
so. This dude had bipartisan props and chops.
He's a Republican, but what he taught me is when your country calls, you answer.
Mm-hmm.
And in his case, the guy knew Mandarin, Chinese. He worked in the Pacific Rim for the chemical business. When we were in that, he knows. I mean, so when President Obama called at that time, said, "I need an ambassador to China," there was nobody better suited to be the ambassador of China than a guy who knew China, worked in China, could speak Chinese,
Could actually communicate
could write
with them.
With that. He did that for a couple of years. It kind of ruined his reputation in the Republican Party. But then the Trump administration called and said, hey, we need an ambassador for Russia. He had done business with the Russians. He knew Russia. He was an experienced delegate working with an adversarial country,
Right.
Having spent the time in China, and he accepted the assignment. He was Trump's first ambassador to Russia in that his first term there, and did a great job.
Does that skill set still exist? I'm going to get back to Beaver County in a second, but does the skill set of being able to work with an adversary, enemy,
Yeah.
both people doing the conversation have to have that skill set? How rare is the skill set to not cut your nose off to spite your face?
You know, I think it's probably more prevalent than we see, but a lot of the people who do that aren't in it for any notoriety. They're in it to do a job, accomplish a mission. I think we see that a lot in our diplomatic corps and those kinds of things. I run into people like that that want to kind of sit back in the background, don't want any fanfare about them. I appreciate those folks a lot. Actually, one of them we just recognized at the Chamber last night with the Citizen of the Year Award. The Beaver County Chairman was DJ Fry.
Of course.
Right now, there's a guy who sees a problem.
Guys like that bug me. They're so goody two-shoes and helpful and benevolent and caring. They put me off.
Too sickening good for you.
Yeah.
But DJ
me.
and the Citizen of the Year last year was a guy named Matt Dawson from West Banco. These are guys that see problems, see concerns in the community. They don't get in it for anything themselves other than to serve their community and bring people together to solve problems. And I love those guys because those are the people I reach out to make things happen. And that's where it doesn't care what your background is, what your political affiliation is. We have a vested interest in making Beaver County the best it can be, and they come together to do that. So there's a lot more people out there than you would think, but a lot of them just kind of work in the shadows and don't want to bring notoriety themselves. They just want to do the right thing for the right reasons to move Beaver County forward and make things better, improve the quality of life.
Yeah. live from the Fry Transportation Group studio.
Yes, well, that's one recognition, but
That's
he does
no,
have a
that's-
business to run.
I think of, I'm not going to go off on a soliloquy about DJ, but I think of him as a guy that cares enough about the community to put his money where his mouth is. And a lot of people will give, and you know this, a lot of people will give you lip service, and you say, okay, can you help? Well, no. And if you care about it enough to stand up and prove it, you're okay.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people you just don't know. And it's funny because I had a conversation. I was at the event last night at Shadow Lakes. The Chamber did a great job. Lance Grable and in the Chamber put on a really nice event, Business of the Year Awards, and multiple people got recognition for how they run their small business, large business, nonprofits. The Sisters of St. Joseph's won a diversity award, which was awesome to see. But I talked to DJ. I said that this award was formed when I was running the chamber, and I was very proud of that. We brought that in. We used to just have business awards. I said, we need to recognize those people that don't want to be recognized but deserve to be, and we're going to recognize them whether they like it or not.
Yeah,
kind of a thing. And Matt and DJ did that, and I told him that. I said, and I got emotional talking to him. I said, DJ, you're such a great guy. You've got this awesome family. You're doing all these things, and I know you don't want any notoriety about it, but that's why we created this award.
Too bad.
So that guys like you could get the props and the recognition that you deserve. And he was touched by that. But I mean, the relief for the hurricane and stuff. He just stepped up, provided buses, trucking, and just helped. And anything we've ever needed at the local level, the county level, tourism, Beaver County boom. How are we going to get people here? Maple syrup. DJ steps up
and says,
gets it
I
done.
got it.
No, yeah. Let me do my thing, and wants nothing in return for that. And another guy that was recognized Entrepreneur of the Year, which is kind of funny because he's CEO of Coppers in downtown, a billion-dollar, multi-billion-dollar company, Leroy Ball. Leroy and his brother-in-law have invested probably a couple of $1 million now in downtown Monaca in revitalizing the main street, buying up properties, renovating properties, and doing that. And his brother-in-law read a statement from him, and he is a guy. He doesn't need any notoriety. He's CEO of Coppers.
No, people know who he is. Yeah.
Works downtown Pittsburgh in the Coppers building.
That's
right
what do
there.
You do?
But just
run
a wonderful
building.
guy that probably most people in Beaver County don't know, but a philanthropist. He's doing all these things. He's not doing that to make a dime out of this. He's doing that to help revitalize and continue the growth of a place that he grew up in, and he feels very committed to, and that's downtown Monaca. And you find guys like that out there, but they're kind of off to the side, and they're not looking for any notoriety on it. But there's a lot more people around than you think, Eddie, to do that. And that's what I love, searching those out. Push Beaver County finds a lot of those guys on their board, a lot of our nonprofits. We see them, the United Way Board and the Humane Society and different things. Just people wanting to pay back their community for the great place that we live in.
It's 22 minutes after 9. Jack Manning is my guest. Ask the Commissioner. You can call and ask a question. I got plenty more. It's 724-843-1888 if you would like to call. The people that you're talking about that give back without recognition, why? This is a deep philosophical third Pink Floyd record question, okay? Why don't we as a society focus on that rather than the screaming and yelling?
Yeah, I
just
don't know.
why I'm curious your opinion, because you've seen screaming and yelling in politics and business for a long time.
Yeah, that's a great question. I really don't know. There's something in our nature,
curmudgeonly.
That people just like to complain and grieve about something that they perceive has happened to them. I think you know me well enough to know I'm accountable for my own actions, and I hold myself accountable.
You own it.
And exactly. And if I screw up, and I'll own it. But I don't know. And you may have heard me talk about this before about my dad. My dad, born during the Depression, Mother died when he was 12 years old of rheumatic fever. He's given to an aunt and uncle, didn't have any kids, raised by them. 1942, he goes right into the Navy, serves on a hospital ship in the South Pacific, comes back, marries my mom. Mom comes home with cancer. All those things, I've never heard my dad once complain about anybody else or anything else. It's like, be grateful for what we have. This is a great country, you know, a very devout individual. And we never got it, you know, it's never like, oh, look what they did to us, or look what this person, never heard that. And I guess that's ingrained in a lot of us, where we had a great example from our parents and our upbringing, our neighborhood, our friends, or whatever, where we didn't point fingers to any other segment of society or the haves and the have-nots. We were all in this together, and that's kind of, you know, I think what you need to be able to run an organization, to run a company, to run a small business, right? You can't be too worried about what you think somebody's done to you. Worry about your own business and make sure you're moving things forward.
That was a deep philosophical answer.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And now, before we go to break, after the break, I'm going to ask you who owns the former Times building and how much did they pay after the break?
Yeah.
But just a personal question. You, and I know this, I don't know this from you, I know this from observing and talking to other people about you. You do. You're accountable. You say, hey, I messed up. I'll be the first one. Doesn't that free you up a little bit, though? To demonstrate that willingness, doesn't that free you up a little bit, that when somebody around you does something stupid, you can flip out and say, I'm going by the same rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I do know when those things happen, and I have philosophical differences with people and stuff, that they do appreciate that I'm pretty transparent about what I think and what I'm going to do, and I do what I say I'm going to do to the best of my ability. So they always acknowledge that. So it does, I guess it kind of frees me up and allows me to have those conversations.
All right. Transparency continues after the news. Noah Haswell will come in. Jack Manning. It's Ask the Commissioners on Beaver County Radio.
The best of Beaver County is easy to discover. It's right here on your radio. Tune in Beaver County Radio or watch the best of Beaver County live on Facebook or YouTube video this and every Thursday from 11 to 11:30. The program is made possible by St. Barnabas. For over 3 years now, the show has been dedicated to shining light on the great things going on right here in your neighborhood and the people that are making it happen. This Thursday, enjoy conversation and insight from an intriguing lineup of guests who are creating excitement and having an impact right here in Beaver County. Your friends and neighbors at St. Barnabas are pleased to support the best of Beaver County. The radio broadcast will also be replayed each week from 11:30 to noon on Sundays on Beaver County Radio. Archived Best of Beaver County videos can be viewed on the WBVP WMBA Facebook page. It's your chance to encounter the best of Beaver County with host Mike Romai this Thursday starting at 11. For more information, visit beavercountyradio.com.
We have Art Cornell here from the Beaver Cemetery and Mausoleum. Art, what's new at the cemetery?
We've just completed a new addition to the mausoleum with above-ground burial crypts, indoor and outdoor niches, and family areas. The Beaver Mausoleum advantages include no plot maintenance, the convenience of a heated and air-conditioned building for visitation, and an adjoining private chapel. It's a perfect final resting place for your loved ones.
Thanks, Art. Beaver Cemetery and Mausoleum, serving all of Beaver County since 1865.
Do you like sports? Then tune in every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. for One Man's Opinion on Sports with Brian Pasquale. Brian is loaded with statistics and interesting sports viewpoints. The show can also be seen on the WBVP-WMBA Facebook page. Plus, Brian will be taking your calls as well. That's One Man's Opinion on Sports with Brian Pasquale. Every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. on Beaver County Radio. 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with WBVP, WMBA, and BeaverCountyRadio.com, invite you to tune in to Sounds of Faith. Tune in Sunday mornings from 7 until 9 for a mix of the best sacred music of all time. Sounds of Faith is brought to you by Crawford Tire in Beaver. William Murphy Funeral Home, City Rescue Mission, MRS Physical Therapy, Circle of Friends, J&J Spratt Funeral Home, and Rome Monument and Inspirational Gifts. Sounds of Faith, uplifting, relaxing, and inspiring radio. Sunday mornings from 7 until 9 on 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with WBVP, WMVA, and BeaverCountyRadio.com.
Beaver County Radio and the Monaca Legion are proud to present the 2024 Veterans Day Parade audio and video broadcast Monday, November 11th, starting at 9:30 a.m. from 3rd Street in Beaver. You can listen to the parade on air at 1230 WBVP 99.3 FM and BeaverCountyRadio.com. You can watch the live video stream on the Beaver County Radio Facebook page and YouTube channel. The 2024 Veterans Day Parade on Beaver County Radio is being brought to you in part by J. Young Refuse, McGee Heating and Air Conditioning, Monroe Auto Body, the cornerstone of Beaver County, Lou Ann's Route 68, and Beaver County Radio.
Beaver County Radio's news source, 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, and streaming at BeaverCountyRadio.com.
Good morning. I am Noah Haswell on 99.3 FM and AM 1230 WBVP. It'll be mostly cloudy skies today with a high near 61 degrees. We will have a complete Beaver County radio weather forecast after we take this look at news. The only race here in Pennsylvania that has not ended after Election Day is the vote for the United States Senator between Democrat Bob Casey and Republican Dave McCormick. McCormick has a roughly 31,000 vote lead, which has been dwindling as outstanding votes continue to be counted. The roughly half percentage point margin between the candidates also qualifies the race for an automatic recount. McCormick overtook Casey with about 80% of the estimated votes counted just before midnight on Tuesday. McCormick was doing better in the votes cast on Election Day. Casey initially had a lead over McCormick when just about 40% of the estimated votes had been counted, propelled in part by mailed ballots that have historically favored Democrats. Styropec, which bought a Beaver County chemical plant, will stop operations at the beginning of the new year, along with 140 employees being laid off from their positions. The official date that this will begin, according to a notice this week from Styropec to the Pennsylvania Department of Labor and Industry, is on January 3rd of 2025, which is the same date their production will permanently stop. Even though improvements were in the works for the company, the necessities of the market could not be achieved. The plant, which is located in Potter Township on Frankfort Road, will then close for good in 2026. On Tuesday, an announcement came from federal prosecutors that after trafficking oxycodone, 12 people from western Pennsylvania and a doctor from Indiana were all indicted. 2 separate charges were received through events that happened from 2019 to July of 2024, which included Adderall being given away by Dr. Martin J. Masson from Lafayette, Indiana. According to a news release from United States Attorney Eric Olshan, he notes that these drugs can be, quote, addictive and deadly, end quote, and that they bring the western Pennsylvania community down along with the remainder of the country. These prosecutions were also added with investigations handled by the Organized Crime Drug Enforcement Task Force, which stops intense drug traffickers, gangs, thieves of money, and criminal organizations across the world. A new report highlights the growth of Pennsylvania's methane mitigation industry, showing positive impacts on the economy, job market, and environment. Here's more from Danielle Smith.
Pennsylvania ranks among the top 5 states for methane mitigation activities, accounting for 8.5% of the total employee locations in this sector nationwide. Marcy Lowe from Datu Research says Pennsylvania's state-level methane rules has led to a 22.2% increase in methane mitigation companies over the past 3 years and 65% over the past decade.
These, by the way, are firms that are both manufacturers manufacturing firms and service firms that help oil and gas operators reduce the amount of methane that escapes from their operations. Methane, of course, is a very potent greenhouse gas, far more potent than even CO2.
Lowe emphasizes the need to prevent system leaks and alter operations to avoid venting and flaring, which releases significant amounts of greenhouse gas into the atmosphere.
After a drought watch was issued last week by the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection to 33 Pennsylvania counties, including right here in Beaver County, Pennsylvania American Water is calling for its customers to use less non-essential water. According to a release from the company on Tuesday, people should reduce their used water by about 10 to 15%, which comes out close to a range of 11 to 16 gallons each day. Here are some of the ways that Pennsylvania American Water suggests for water conservation. Using both washing machines and dishwashers when they are full only, fixing your house leaks, to water down your lawn only if it is necessary, clean your porch with a broom instead of the usual water hose, and when washing dishes or brushing your teeth, leave the tap off.
Here's the Beaver County forecast.
Mostly sunny today. We'll see highs near 62. Clear tonight will drop down to a low around 39. Sunny and breezy tomorrow. Look for a high near 61 and an overnight low of 35. More sunshine on Saturday. We'll reach a high of 57 and a low of 42. And Sunday, look for showers through a good portion of the day and evening. We'll see a high near 61 and a low of about 50. I'm Lisa Marie with your Beaver County weather.
On this Thursday, November 7th of 2024, at 35 minutes after 9, we've got a temperature of 55 degrees currently in Beaver County. That's a look at the news for now. I am Noah Haswell on 99.3 FM and AM 1230 WBVP, also streaming live around the world at beavercountyradio.com.
Now, it's time to talk on Teleforum on Beaver County Radio. 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, 99.3 FM, and beavercountyradio.com. And now, here is the host of the show, Eddie Crow.
It's Teleforum, but it's better than Teleforum. Not that same old run-of-the-mill crap that I sit out here and spew most days. We got an expert. It's Ask the Commissioners. Jack Manning is my guest here in the studios, the Pride Transportation Studios. This is also being live Facebook fed. Want to post your questions in the comment section of the Facebook feed, you can go ahead and do that. But we got things to sort out. How much undoing needs to be done? You mentioned before there are times that you don't agree with people, and you're open to that, and that's wonderful. It's not your favorite subject, and it's not something that you're in agreement with others. The Times, former Times building, it got bought for a nickel, and then it got changed. It's worth $80 million. And I mean, obviously, I'm exaggerating, but when people read with outrage, when they hear with outrage, it might as well be those numbers. For somebody that maybe doesn't know, walk me up to where we are now. And what's to be decided, what's the process going on now to sort out money, and this is about storage. We're getting out of the mushroom mines, all sorts of weirdness.
Yeah, so I'll just stick to the facts. So we know that the building was purchased for $675,000 by a group of people. I don't know all of them. I just know that the owner of record is Joe Ascar, who is a county employee.
How do we not know? Can you stay?
I haven't looked. I haven't bothered to look. I just know that people say that he's the only one that's listed on any documents as the owner. It was an LLC that was formed, Times BCT LLC.
Just because, and I'm ignorant of this, Jack, and I apologize for interrupting, but I would have thought if I'm any part of any company dealing with financial anything with the county, that my name's got to be. if something's going on that involves me and possible tax dollars, I would think that my name would need to be on the sheet. I'm applying logic, aren't I?
Yeah, and you know, I'm not well versed in LLC forming and those kinds of things. I mean, I had my own company when I left industry. And by the way, just a shout out to my former Styropec friends. You know, that was
What happened?
That was the location. Well, Styropec shutting down.
Right, no, I know, but what happened?
Market conditions, age of the plant, need for investment. I guess there was a corporate decision. 25 years ago, it was Nova Chemical that brought me up here. And that was the plant that I was director of North American Human Resources for, but eventually became plant manager of that facility. And that's when I left and when I retired, eliminated my own job in 2009. It was still Nova. Shortly after I left, it was sold to Styropec. But a lot of those folks are friends and colleagues. They're still there of the 140 people. And we're already trying to work behind the scenes with CareerLink and job training for Beaver County, upskilling or finding positions for those folks the best we can. So just my heart goes out to people. Anytime you hear about a plant closing, it's difficult. Those 140 very good, well-paying jobs that are going to be lost in the region. So I just wanted to make sure I acknowledge that and those folks know that we're trying to look out for them the best we can. But in terms of...
Maybe they can get a job with the renovations at the old Trib building or at the old Times building.
No, but we're talking to a lot of industries up and down the river there, see who needs people that have process technology type skills. Certainly the guys that are in maintenance and have the electrician and carpenter, and well, those guys will probably have no trouble finding positions, but it's always disruptive. Some of those folks have been there a long time.
The uncertainty. I mean, you might get lucky and get as good or better a job, but until that happens, you're still waking up every morning going,
you and your family are, And we already have a high population in Beaver County that's one paycheck away from financial difficulties, right? Those ALICE numbers that we talk about. Over 35% of our population is in that category. Well, but just to get back to your question, I don't know all that. We just know that he's the person that's signed the document says that, the deal when the Calkins family, I guess, sold the property to this LLC. And what it was appraised at, and there's been another appraiser and appraisal, and I think we're having another one.
And the appraisal, the outside appraisal was done by somebody recommended by the person in the middle of all this.
Yeah, they're certified out of county, but certified appraiser, not one that we normally would deal with in the county, to try and keep some distance there. So it's appraised somewhere between 2.2 and 2.8 million. Some of these assessments, we're going to get another one's going to kind of break the tie or do something or average them. I don't know.
It's like rock, paper, scissors, best of three.
Yeah, to me, it doesn't matter what it's appraised to. I'm fundamentally against this for multiple reasons.
What's the first reason?
Well,
we'll go down the list.
If we're going to spend this amount of money, the county is going to spend $1 million plus money on something. My first criteria is, does this improve the quality of life of the average resident of Beaver County? And there's no quality of life improvement in buying a building for storage. I just fundamentally, a building for a couple of $1 million for storage.
Why is, just in general terms, why, how do you not justify needing a place to put the stuff? Well, is it that we have so many available vacant buildings now?
Well, my point is that stuff is already there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Do we need another building to move it from where it is to there that's that expensive versus where it is being housed and the cost of where it is being housed?
Where it's being housed. How long? I remember doing the math. If everything goes through with the new building, we're going to break even relative to what the mushroom mines cost in 20 years.
Maybe. I don't know.
Isn't that short term?
I haven't seen the data.
Municipalities?
Look, it can be affordable, but the question is it the right thing to do?
Okay.
Right? And I don't think it's the right thing to do, because second criteria is, does it improve the economy of Beaver County? Is it creating jobs? Is it bringing in tax revenue? Is it bringing in visitors? and
We're not spending money
there's
to
no
make
economic
money.
right. There's no
Okay.
economic value. There's no revenue generated. There's no tourism. We're not bringing in new residents. We're not doing anything from that. And then the third is improve the health, safety, and welfare, which is our most important role by code of a county commissioner. And I would submit to you, it does nothing to improve the health, safety, and welfare of people. So, it does do that. But then the fourth one, and the overriding one is, from an ethical standpoint, the optics of it, of someone who is a county employee selling the county a building and making a huge profit of it, it doesn't meet my ethical standards. So that's the bottom line. They can appraise it for whatever they want. They can do whatever they want. They can try and justify it. We have solutions for each of those. They want to move the documents from the mines. They want to move the SWAT team into that, or ESU into that. They want to move voting machines into that. There are cheaper alternatives.
Cheaper solutions for those three.
Yeah, for those three things, and just shuffling them from one place to another, it just doesn't make sense. But it doesn't. That fourth thing I mentioned there, it just doesn't meet my ethical standards. So and I've been very open about it.
Yes.
Dan and Tony know about it. Everybody in the courthouse knows about it, and that's why I'm adamantly opposed to it. And I don't care. It doesn't matter that it's Joe Askar. If it was Sheriff Tony Guy that owned it, if it was Eric Brewer from EMS, if it was Matt from our DPW group, I'm not comfortable doing that. A transaction of that level with a county employee doesn't look good. Doesn't feel good, and it just doesn't feel right to me. So,
What's the next step in sorting that out? You said there's a third.
Two of the three commissioners approved a second appraisal, and that's a group out of Erie this time to get another independent appraisal with the building's worth. But again, I don't care what that comes back with.
Right.
It could come back at $500,000. I'm still probably not going to do it.
How does this get resolved? Let's just for the sake of argument, they come back and change the numbers a little bit, but that doesn't change the optics.
No, I mean the chairman controls the agenda. If he puts it on the agenda, we'll have, at the end of the day, it has to be voted on by the commissioners. That's the only way it's going to get approved.
Okay.
So
if it got voted on right now, would it be approved?
According to my understanding of where Dan and Tony are.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
And there are no other alternatives.
Well, I think there are. Hey, you got a lot of room. You got a lot of room here in this building. You want to store documents?
I will make you a deal on floor space right now, my friend.
Okay.
You've been to this radio station. Is this a place you really want to have a SWAT gear stored?
Well, I'm talking about the documents. I'm not talking about having our ESU.
No, lock, stock, and barrel. If we got to do the paperwork, we get the fun stuff too. Yeah. Jack Manning is my guest. You've intimated that you're probably not going to keep doing political stuff too much longer. You said earlier you're 72.
Yeah.
The last political cycle, did it make you glad that you're leaning, or did that make you think, no, there's still stuff to be done?
Well, there's always stuff to be done. Mm-hmm. And again, I think you've gotten to know me enough, Eddie, over these last 5 years. And actually, one of the reasons I'm here, and I apologize to CCBC 7th and Veterans Breakfast this morning. It's the first one of those Veterans Breakfasts.
You gave up free sausage to come here.
It's not about the food. It's about honoring the veterans. And I will be at the parade Monday along Beaver and watching that. But the breakfast is very important to a lot of people. It's about honoring them. But I'll be there Monday. But I feel I have a contract with you guys. I don't think I've missed a first Thursday of the month meet the commissioners thing there. So I felt obligated to come here because of the contract I have with your listeners to make sure commissioners are visible and heard.
I'm trying to think. As long as I've done this, and it's been, I mean, a lot last couple of years, obviously, but it's been at least 5. I don't ever remember.
Yeah.
And you're one of those annoying people that actually shows up early. And I'm not saying that you annoy us.
Well,
you look out and you go, wow, no drama.
Well, to
Okay.
get back to your original question, I think you know me well enough. I give everything I have, pretty much 24/7. And people have been approaching me, and more than likely, I won't run again. But I haven't totally closed that door. But a gentleman named Dick Shaw, who a lot of people know, told me a long time ago, the trick is, Jack, to leave before they tell you to.
Oh.
And
A classy early exit, like a dinner party.
I am kind of a age limit guy. I will be 75 years old at the end of this term. I will have served 8 years, and 8 years, quite frankly, is about the longest I've ever done any one assignment. I was a shift worker for 8 years when my career started. And then I had different roles, 3 to 5 years, then move on to this, move on to that. Left the industry, started my own business, did downtown consulting for a few years, ran the chamber for a few years. Now it seems like
New gig.
it's time. I hate people that stay past their expiration point,
That's a journeyman's attitude.
and I don't want to stay past my expiration point.
Speaking of former Commissioner Dennis Nichols will be on tomorrow morning with Frank Sparks about 8:35 to talk about the election. And somebody's on the phone. Jack, you should be able to hear him in those headphones. But, I should be taller. We'll see. Hi. What's your name?
Good morning, Georgie Porgy calling.
Hi, Georgie Porgy. What's your question for Jackie Wacky?
Yeah, right. Jack, I appreciate you standing up for the taxpayers. But is the investigation still on with the state attorney general's office over this building they want to purchase?
Yeah, I don't.
Employee?
Yeah, I don't have any details. I do know that stuff was sent up to them, and I believe they're looking at it. But I really don't have any insight at this point in time.
Other than they are aware of it, obviously.
Yeah, and I believe they're looking into it. Yeah.
What can Georgie Porgy? Thanks for calling. I didn't even think about that. If the Attorney General's office doesn't like it, says, "Yeah, this is some janky stuff." You talk about optics. What can the Attorney General's office do? Can they shut it down, or can they just say we don't like it?
I really don't know. I don't know what, and I don't want to speculate because I really truly don't know.
Okay.
Any legal avenues that could shut this down. I think it's I don't think there's any statutes. I don't think there's any laws that are being violated. Our own solicitors have said that it meets the standards there, but just because it meets the standards, again, doesn't mean it's the right thing to do.
How blurred is that line these days? The difference between it meets the standards and it being the right thing to do? Are the standards, is the line of the standards changing, or are we getting better at vaguely interpreting?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, in certain areas, I think the standard's always been the standard. With certain people, the standard's always been
All
the
right,
standard.
Coach Tomlin.
That's hard to say.
Okay.
I know certainly people's attitudes, and I mean, look at the election. There are people who are willing to set aside and look past a lot of stuff to vote for their candidate of choice, whoever it was, because everybody kind of brings baggage into these things, right?
How much are you tiptoeing when you talk about the election right now?
I'm tap dancing.
There
I'm not
you go,
tiptoeing.
baby.
I'm tap dancing, my friend.
Is there anything I should have asked you that I didn't? Jack Manning, my guest, asked the commissioners, and
No, just the election. I have to praise our Bureau of Elections people.
they knocked it out.
And
the
our
numbers
staff.
were quick, and boom.
Those
baby.
guys, it's the best controlled chaos that you've ever seen in your life. With all the people that are in there, I know Dan and I and Tony were in there, but Colin Sisk, the work that they do, that staff, the volunteers we had opening envelopes and scanning ballots, and all the observers that were in there, and everything was on camera. Everything was totally transparent. under difficult working conditions to begin with, and the pressure of getting stuff out and being accurate. Just a phenomenal job, and I have to praise those folks. And by the way, it's not over yet, because this mandatory recount that's probably going to happen for the Senate race.
For Casey McCormick.
Yeah, it doesn't make me happy that we're going to have to go and rescan 90,000, whatever it is, ballots again just for that race. That's going to create a lot of extra work and effort, and it's going to be time consuming. I know we want to get the right result, obviously, to say.
Right.
Rarely do those recounts change anything at the material at the end of the day, but it's close enough that it probably, mandatory in percent, 0.5%.
Is that NPA 0.5%?
Yeah, and there's still some other challenges and legal proceedings that we're dealing with, gone through, just the different ballot issues. So it's not done yet, and then they've got to do all the cleanup, and then they get ready again. But boy, what a phenomenal job! Beaver County should really feel fortunate and blessed that we've got the people we have that are doing that job, and the volunteers that have come out, and the poll watchers, and everybody else that did that. The 129 polling places, and all the people that were there helping, and very, very few issues. A couple of verbal confrontations, and that's about it. So
you're going to have a verbal confrontation.
Good on Beaver County, though. No, good on Beaver County. The voters, I had faith in them. I was confident nothing was happening. We were prepared for anything and everything that could happen. But I really like to thank the voters for how they handled themselves, and particularly our staff for how they got things done. Just a great job.
The most scrutinized election in history.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
You know what you need to do? When you get done with this politic commissioner stuff,
Yeah.
they're going to have me fired easy by then. Just step right in. All right?
Sure. I'm not sure I have a voice for radio, but...
Myron Cope. That's all you need to know.
Oh, there you go.
It ain't the tone, it's the content.
Yeah, I have to get a terrible towel.
Teleforum on Beaver County Radio. Jack Manning, you're the best.
If you own a company or a small business, you might have considered advertising on radio. It's smart because radio is still the most far-reaching media outlet today. WBVP and WMBA can get you results. Get more information at beavercountyradio.com.